Well, good morning. Thank you for joining us today for the fifth meeting of the Lake County Board of Commissioners. Would all those who are willing and able please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Grant us, O Lord, light to our understanding, prudence in our investigating, foresight in our planning, sincerity in our deliberating, the grace to follow truth in our judgment. Help us to be moved in our decision, neither by fear nor by self-interest, and to do our work faithfully. May we respect the authority vested in us, for thou art the source of all authority, and may you use it in our directives for the common good and for thy honor and glory. Amen. Thank you all. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young.
Here.
Commissioner Hamercheck.
Here. Thank you. Okay, this brings us to our first public comment portion of our meeting. We do have a special guest with us today. I will introduce him in just a moment. I would like to give a little bit of background as to, let's see, we have a new Senate bill coming out. It's Senate Bill 44. Yesterday I did receive a phone call from Dave Griffin. He is the Vice President at Energy Harbor, or a Vice President at Energy Harbor. He is in charge of government relations. He called to inform me about Senate Bill 44 and to give me a little bit of background and perspective from Energy Harbor's perspective. I'd like to share a little of that with you today. Energy Harbor has indicated that they are good with this Senate bill and what it represents. Much of it is being driven by PJM. That's one of the energy groups that buys and distributes electricity. They are driving Energy Harbor's position regarding what is referred to as certain revenue, meaning that the energy that they generate is being sold and it is at a price that they can count on. The discussion that Senate Bill 44 will be addressing has to do with the House Bill 6 subsidy of approximately $150 million, and those dollars are not considered to be certain. And with that little bit of background out of the way, I would like to introduce a friend of ours, and a very familiar face here with the Lake County Board of Commissioners, now Senator Jerry Cirino. Please come on up, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Jerry.
Thank you. Hi, Ron. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Hope you're doing well. Great to talk with you, and great to be here, Mr. President. So I'm Jerry Cirino, State Senator of the 18th District, and I am at the Ohio Senate Building, 1 Capitol Square in Columbus. So I've been looking for an excuse to come back and visit, and it looks like I found one here. And I appreciate the opportunity to be here to talk a little bit about Senate Bill 44, which Senator Rulli and I have co-sponsored together and introduced earlier this week. I have to tell you, I really miss being here, but I also have to admit that I'm really enjoying working in the Senate for a little over 4 weeks now. I trust me, I'm hard at work representing the people of the 18th District, including this part of Lake County, of course. So I'm here today, Mr. President, to convey to you and the residents of our county, the employees and families employed by the Perry Nuclear Plant and other stakeholders as well, what the intent of Senate Bill 44 was that was proposed by Senator Rulli and me earlier this week. And you touched on a number of those points from your conversations with Energy Harbor, but I'll elaborate on a couple of them. As everybody knows, I have been a staunch defender of carbon-free nuclear power generation and have fought hard for this, along with my former colleagues, one of them here and one on the phone, on the commission, and also with the commissioners in Ottawa County. We've done everything we can in the last several years, everything possible to keep these two plants operating. The basis for my focus on this was twofold. First, I believe in sound nuclear energy policy and that it is essential to maintain our clean energy standards for our community to have this clean energy, carbon-free electricity generation. Second, the impact on our community of a closure, as we all know and we've talked about in this room many times, would be substantial. We simply can't let that happen. A closure would impact employment, tax collections across the county. Many related businesses would be negatively impacted without the possibility of repurposing the land or the facility. When House Bill 6 was adopted, the intent was to provide support for the continued operation of the two plants, and especially since the operator at that time was involved in bankruptcy proceedings. They have since emerged from bankruptcy, and I believe have emerged in better financial position than before, as is, excuse me, as is usually the case in a restructuring environment, of course. Excuse me. In the summer of 2020, HB 6 became embroiled in, excuse me, Mr. President.
Quite all right, sir. Would you like some water, sir?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you.
In the summer of 2020, HB 6 became embroiled in alleged activities, and the debate surrounding the subsidy that you mentioned earlier was renewed with multiple bills in both chambers of the legislature. However, there was no conclusion to this at the end of the 133rd General Assembly. Now, circumstances have changed. It appears that the federal government, who previously did not show much interest in protecting nuclear assets around the country, and you may recall that a number of us made many trips to Washington. We met with Congressman Joyce's office. We met with the Energy Department several times. We met with FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, and we also met in Philadelphia with PJM, the distribution company, and really got no interest in terms of supporting us, and that's why events generally turned to the state for a solution. But we believe now, and assuming that based on what we're hearing and seeing, that there will be greater support at the federal level for new energy policies that will in fact be supportive of maintaining our nuclear assets. So as such, it seems appropriate that the subsidies that are built into HB 6 that you mentioned earlier will not be necessary in order to continue the operation of both plants. In fact, acceptance of state subsidies might actually be an impediment to continuing to get, or getting in the first place, these federal support systems. So Senate Bill 44 simply memorializes the elimination of these subsidies. It will reduce ratepayer costs and will, I believe, ensure the continued generation of carbon-free energy and protect the economy of our communities. And I might add, there is very broad support for this bill. Finally, I would like to conclude by restating my continued commitment to protect our local nuclear facility, the employees, families, businesses, schools, the fire district, and all other stakeholders as we hopefully conclude all of these discussions on House Bill 6 and continue on with producing carbon-free energy right here in Lake County. Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be happy to take any questions.
While we've got you, we'll take advantage of that. Some of the, and I'm sure this is a topic of discussion that the public's going to want to hear, so I'll just go over some of the easier questions here. The House Bill 6, there were requirements in House Bill 6 that Ohio facilities accepting the subsidies would have to maintain Ohio operations. I know that was one of the big things that we had insisted on, was some sort of a guarantee.
Right.
With House Bill, or with Senate Bill 44, do we still have those guarantees? If they don't accept the subsidies, would they then be able to shut down the plants, sell the plants, and have another company shut them down? What do you envision the future looking like?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. My understanding is that if there were any attachments or future behavioral issues tied to the acceptance of subsidies, that those would be eliminated along with the subsidies. Okay, but I will say that Senate Bill 44 explicitly eliminates certain aspects of House Bill 6, and if something is not explicitly eliminated in Senate Bill 44, it will remain they will remain intact in House Bill 6.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense?
It does indeed. Now, I did get this from Dave Griffin, that PGM, and my words, not his, but PGM is playing hardball, and one of the things that they put Energy Harbor on notice, that there would be a penalty, if you will, for any energy generator that is subsidized, and that would not make Energy Harbor particularly competitive in the PGM structure. Now, Ohio, one of the things that had been done in recent times, particularly in conjunction with House Bill 6, was there was a restructuring of our energy policy. And just kicking this out there for due consideration, Ohio could conceivably pull out of PJM. And since Ohio only generates 85% of our total usage, if Energy Harbor is looking for certain income, there's their opportunity to sell right here in Ohio to Ohio consumers. Just something that we might want to consider. Obviously, I wouldn't want you to craft that legislation right here at the podium.
Right,
You're good,
right,
but I don't
yeah.
know that you're that good now. I wouldn't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah. Well, look, I think that PJM, as you know, manages the grid for 12 states and the District of Columbia. And obviously, we have not in the Senate been involved in any discussions between the operator of the plants and PJM. So whatever they decide to do. I will say that, the earlier comment you made about, continuing to accept state subsidy money versus others that might be available at the federal level, that's a business decision that the operator has to make. And obviously, it appears that they have made that decision. And I think that's fine. I think that's, all our businesses certainly need to make decisions that are in their best interest. So that they can remain viable. We want them to remain viable, obviously, and we want the plants, both plants, to continue operating. So, again, I would have to defer to Energy Harbor for any comment relative to PJM.
And continuing with that, and you're right, because it looks like Energy Harbor should help explain some of these situations because they help create them. Dave Griffin, one of the things he'd indicated was that there was a belief with the new president, a new energy policy, that carbon credits would be more likely. But my concern is that doesn't line up very neatly with they're looking for certainty in revenue. I am concerned about that, given, and I'm just going to be blunt, we've got 85% of generating capacity here in Ohio. We're actually shipping it out of the state, and then we're buying from other states. I get it, the way the grid is interconnected. But the concern that I have is there's also that same energy policy that it sounds like Energy Harbor is going to be counting on is also the same energy policy that is targeting hydraulic fracture, commonly referred to as fracking. We've got a lot of gas turbine, they're basically called peak plants now. Those are going to become more expensive to operate. They're certainly not going to be necessarily as cost effective to create. That fuel, the natural gas, I believe a gas well, half of its life is depleted in the first 3 years. So, no pun intended, the gas that's in the pipeline right now, if the current administration goes through with reductions in fracking, we've got about a 3-year expectancy on these gas turbine plants before the cost starts to go up against supply and demand.
Right.
And if we're talking about carbon-free emissions, these two nuclear power plants, their base load, I believe the number was 70% of the carbon-free emissions. I
think it might actually be higher than that.
Higher than that. Okay.
That's good enough for conversation.
I would encourage that the Senate and the House take a good, hard look at our energy policy here in Ohio as we proceed.
Well, I think we could talk for hours about the new administration's potential energy policy changes, but I think personally it would be reasonable to presume that they're going to probably rely more on and incentivize more carbon-free generation. It may or may not be at the expense of other sources, and we'll have to see how that plays out. But I think there is reasonable business people would presume that the environment is going to be friendlier toward nuclear than it has been. And again, that's a business decision that the operators have to make in terms of the future. I will say also that, of course, I came here today just because there had been some questions about what Senate Bill 44 was.
Sure.
And I hopefully we've cleared up that confusion. That it now will be subject to hearings in the Senate through the Energy Committee, of which I am a member. And then it will go to the full Senate eventually if it comes out of committee. And then, of course, it has to go to the House. And, we'll see what happens when it gets there. But, we do feel that there is broad support for taking this action at this time, and it's necessary because we can't just have someone refuse to accept subsidy dollars. We have to actually undo what was done in House Bill 6, and that's really what Senate Bill 44 accomplishes.
Excellent, and a great start. And the other couple items, and again, this may be more for Energy Harbor, but unintended consequences of Senate Bill 44. I know we talk about protecting jobs and about protecting the tax base.
Right.
We all know that there was a great deal of controversy and concern about a House Bill 6, but Senate Bill 44, the concerns are what are the protections for jobs and what are the protections for the tax base. I know that we're trusting the goodwill, but I don't think it takes much of an imagination to say that sometimes corporate America, shall we say, left to its own devices, can go a bit astray.
Yeah, that's a great question, and there aren't too many guarantees in life of very many things, but I think the conventional wisdom seems to be that this is the right move to make, and that this will actually ensure the continued operation of the two facilities in a greater way than even that House Bill 6, as originally done, would do. So, I think it's. I'm pretty confident, based on what I know and what I have heard, that this is the right thing to do. I would never put my name on the bill if I thought it would jeopardize my community here at all. And we all been at this fight for a long time, and I really want to send a message to the community. I have heard from so many employees and families and other stakeholders about this, and they've been on pins and needles for so many years now, as we all know. I think this is an opportunity for them to sit back and say, okay, we think this has been resolved. We think the future looks bright for nuclear energy generation, and perhaps they can relax and enjoy life a little bit more, along with all of the stakeholders. And I know that there's communications happening with all of the stakeholders around the county and in the company. So hopefully that message will be broadly communicated, and that people will feel good about it.
And just circling back to PGM, they're playing hardball. They're kind of causing a situation that's forcing Energy Harbor to have to go in this direction, accept this. One of the things, again, just to circle back, if PGM is pushing, and again, a year ago, if somebody had said that what happened with the householder fiasco would have happened, I think we'd have all said that's a vast conspiracy, couldn't possibly happen. So the concern is going to be, is PGM pushing this issue just so Energy Harbor can get out from under these requirements? Again, the thought being, would it be in Ohio's best interest for the House and the Senate to use Ohio's energy policy to pull us out of PGM, which would then give Energy Harbor a market that they could guarantee revenue from? Just keep that in the back of your mind.
Okay. I do have, just if I could comment,
absolutely, sir.
I have no reason at all to think or to believe that PJM is doing anything untoward. In terms of the future of Ohio's energy policy, I think those are issues that can and should be considered in the future, certainly, but they're certainly not a part of Senate Bill 44.
Gotcha. And then the other thing is, I'm hoping, or do you have any? And I haven't seen anything in the public domain. Any House members working with you? I know that Jamie Callender, he had worked closely on House Bill 6. Is Representative Callender up to speed on all this? Where are we at with?
Right. There may have been discussions at the leadership level between the House and the Senate. I don't know for certain. That would not be surprising if that has occurred. But the normal way of doing these is that we do our work, and we still have to go through committee hearings and go to the full Senate before it even goes to the House. So again, we believe that there is broad support for Senate Bill 44, but we have to go through the normal hurdles in order to get this completed.
Fair enough. And I think my last point is there's going to be probably chatter about must-run agreements. That's going to be with PJM.
I'm sorry, about
must-run agreements.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be a PJM thing. That's a business-to-business kind of a, hey, you have to stay in operation, versus the House Bill 6 requirement that Ohio facilities must be maintained in Ohio. Those are two different things. One is statutory, the other is a business contract.
Correct.
I can't thank you enough for all your time. Ron, did you have anything you wanted to add while we've got our good senator here? He's on a roll.
Sure. let's pick on him a bit more. We don't get to hear from him often enough these days. Welcome again, Jerry. Good
Thanks.
to hear your voice.
Thanks, Ron. Commissioner.
You know, as we all know, having all supported House Bill 6, that the basic opposition to it was the subsidy, as far as the public was concerned. And that opposition always surprised me, because at the end of the day, those fees that were being eliminated that were interrelated, at least at some level, with those subsidies. The fees that were being charged to various entities in Ohio and out of Ohio, and actual payments made to companies out of Ohio as well, which were absurd. But nonetheless, all those changes allowed the state to offer a reduction in fees to its citizens. So out of House Bill 6, people would have seen a reduction in their electric bills. So that always surprised me. And I take it that Senate Bill 44 cleans that up with the elimination of all the subsidies to citizens. Is that true, or how does that work?
Yeah, Mr. President,
Please,
Ron, excuse me, I have to get used to calling you Commissioner Young. The Senate Bill 44 just deals with the nuclear subsidies for what is now Energy Harbors. Okay, and it eliminates those subsidy payments and obligations from the original House Bill 6. Okay, in terms of other things that were in House Bill 6 that are not addressed specifically in Senate Bill 44, they remain intact and perhaps to be brought up later or in the House, I don't know. But so the statement you made would not be absolutely correct at this point.
Okay, so in reference to those legacy fees, some of the fees that are currently being charged would continue to be charged, perhaps.
Yeah,
we're not sure of that yet, given the current flux as far as legislation is concerned.
Right, Commissioner. If you have some specific fees that you would like me to look into it to see how they're impacted or not, I'd be happy to. But I'm not quite clear which fees you're referring to at this point. So we can take that up offline if you like.
Well, if you recall, the discussion around, as I recall at any rate, and which could be in there, around House Bill 6 was that we were eliminating certain fees and other such things that had been being charged to citizens.
Okay.
That had increased their payments to First Energy.
Right, Commissioner, you're referring to what was the roughly $4 a month charge that ratepayers were being charged. Okay, exactly. Yes, I'm sorry. So that will be reduced by the amount proportionately that we are eliminating for the nuclear energy subsidy. Okay, we're leaving intact the solar part of that, which is in original House Bill 6. The portions of House Bill 6 that covered wind-generated electricity remains untouched in our bill. So when I talked earlier about the reduction in cost for ratepayers, it will be that reduction that will be eliminated from the nuclear subsidy. And so that's where we're going to see a reduction in rates, as soon as this bill becomes effective.
The nuclear was my subsidy and for the expansions in alternate power sources was my question as well. So I think you just answered that.
Yep.
I just have a very general question. I think Commissioner Hamercheck covered a lot of the bases. And that's simply, how does Senate Bill 44 help Ohio move forward as far as staying open for business, keeping Lake County families working, keeping Perry schools open, keeping our tax base secure? Specifically, how does Senate, I don't expect you to dig into all the details, but what are some of the general things that Senate Bill 44 does in order to achieve that? Now, I know obviously it'll help keep First Energy open, or at least it allows that possibility.
Well,
Energy Harbor, I should say.
yeah.
But, what are your thoughts about that? Just from a
Sure.
50,000 foot overview.
Well, I'll actually come down to about 20,000, if that's okay with you. Get you a little more specific. 50,000 feet doesn't really say much usually. So this is good all around for Ohio. It's yes, of course, it frees up Energy Harbor as the operator of the plants to go off and do what they want to do, and what's available to them from a federal perspective. That's good, and again, they have to make business decisions based on what's good for them. But we have two things that I have said, and I think when I was a commissioner, that we all subscribed to, and that was two major things that we wanted to make sure did not go away. One was the production of massive amounts of carbon-free energy, which is good for our community, good for the environment, good for Ohio. And we want to make sure that the plants remained open so that we wouldn't have an economic cataclysm in Lake County, as well as over in Ottawa County on the northwest side of the state. So those are all good things. And in terms of what it does for Ohio, I really believe that it's going to be a very attractive situation for businesses that are looking to expand or relocate to Ohio, because we're going to have greatly reduced energy costs. We're going to have a reliable grid of nuclear generated electricity that is going to be managed by PJM. We're going to find that we have two stable economies in the communities where both plants are located here, and people can finally get off these pins and needles that they have been on, not being certain as to the future for their careers and for their families. So I think there are very many good reasons why this is good for Ohio, good for Lake County, good for Ottawa County, good for business, and it will be an important part of the recovery from this COVID recession that we are experiencing here in Ohio, and we all know a lot about how big that is right now. This will be an important component in stabilizing things. And then lastly, Ron, it takes away these side issues related to the allegations that were made against the former speaker and some of his associates last year, which is murkied up the whole matter here. So I think all parties are going to be happy with this, and that's why I believe we're seeing very, very broad support for Senate Bill 44.
Yeah, and finally, is there any direct impact on fees to customers?
Say again, sir?
Is there any direct impact on fees to customers that you can foresee?
Yes. Fees will go as soon as this bill is enacted and it becomes effective. There will be rate reductions for all ratepayers, businesses and homeowners.
Okay, and again, 20,000 feet. Why would that be? I know for a lot of the reasons we've already discussed, but you can just sort of summarize that for the folks.
Sure. The original $4 and change, alternative energy charge that we as ratepayers have been paying for many years now, was used to, was eliminated, and those dollars were used to help provide the subsidy for nuclear as well as for other things as well in the original House Bill 6. So since the subsidies under our bill would go away, there would be a proportional decrease in the charges to residents and businesses. And so there clearly will be cost savings. So, you're not going to take a big vacation based on those cost savings, but, a few dollars a month times 12 is meaningful to a lot of people. So the key is we're not raising rates and we're not even keeping them the same. This bill, if passed in its current form, would result in more affordable energy for businesses and residents throughout Ohio.
Very good. Excellent.
Okay?
Okay. Sounds like a good bill to me.
Great.
I wish I was there to co-sponsor it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right.
Thank you, Commissioner Young. Just one real quick, just to clarify, the reduction had much to do with wind and solar, also commonly referred to as renewable energy subsidies to out-of-state providers. The in-state Ohio wind and solar is untouched.
Correct.
Okay, just
It's
wanna be-
intact in House Bill 6.
Got
Yes.
it. Got it. All right. I'm checking off boxes.
That's okay. That's good.
Senator, I can't
great.
thank you enough for taking the time to come in here. I appreciate your responding so quickly to my text message after talking with Dave Griffin. I felt compelled to text you and say, hey, where are we at with this? And you called me back right away as you were driving the posted speed limit back from
Of course,
Columbus, I'm
only the
sure.
post. Actually, I think I was below the posted speed
Oh,
limit.
there you go. Good
only,
man.
Only because I was behind a big truck. So
Drafting.
I'm happy to be here, and anytime I can help explain what we're doing down there in Columbus that impacts our community, I'm happy to come back.
Bless you, sir. Thank
Okay.
you for your
Thank you very
service.
much. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Ron, I think we're good. We're going to go and look to Jason Boyd, County Administrator. Jason, do we have any public comments submitted electronically? We do not, indicating none. Okay, I don't believe we have anybody in our audience wishing to address us at this time. So with that, Madam Clerk, moving on to resolutions, please.
In the engineer's office, resolution authorizing change order number 1, LAK Bennett Road, County Road 05, resurfacing project with Roniak Paving Incorporated, decreasing the amount by $67,310.28. Fan E190 613, PID number 105936, LCE project number 2018-018.
Move to adopt.
Second, and discussion. Tracy, did you want to give us the good news on that one? Oh, I hate to ask, but for the benefit of our audience and for Commissioner Young, the microphone. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
She's so polite.
Hello?
Hang on just a second, Ron. She's
second.
coming up to the mic.
Sorry, I moved too slow there.
You're good.
Not a lot to say about Bennett. Bennett was a federal project that we were not expecting to receive last year. And with the bids, they came in a little lower than anticipated, and we were able to save over $67,000.
Yeah, being good stewards, that's worth going into a little bit of detail on. So for that, we thank you. Ron, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I think we're all set on that. Sounds good.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
ma'am. All right. With no further discussion, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. Thank you.
In the Utilities Department, resolution transferring appropriations within Lake County Department of Utilities Sewer Project Fund 364S, Glyco 2 Force Main Replacement.
Move to adopt.
Second, discussion. None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution accepting a 3-year maintenance bond in the amount of $1,136.63 for Hunting Lake Drive Sanitary Sewer Extension, job number 20-11 in Concord Township.
Move to adopt.
Second, discussion. None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving plans, specifications, and estimates of cost in the amount of $1,504,447 for gas collection control system improvements contract 2 for the Lake County Solid Waste Facility Project number 429L and advertising for bids for the same, bid opening March 3rd, 2021.
Move to adopt.
Second, discussion. Randy, did you want to go into some detail? I know we've talked about this in the past, but that's a lot of money, and I think the public would like to hear more than once what we're doing.
Absolutely, Commissioner, thank you. This is a gas expansion at our landfill, part of our overall expansion that's going on now. We have several contracts already out for that, and this is going to generally be for future gas in the future areas of the landfill as it gets filled, just increasing the capacity for that.
And again, we've got an engineer's estimate of $1,276,770. We're basically trying to make sure that gas does not escape into the atmosphere, which, one, it's a flammable material, and two, it has a tremendous odor associated with it. So those are the two biggies. That's the stuff that we see being flared off currently.
That's correct.
And we're trying to keep the gas concentration diluted enough that, one, it's not marketable, but also the benefit of that is the odor issue, should there be any escape from the landfill. Those are reasonable perspectives.
Absolutely, yeah. This allows us to manage that gas and to make sure it doesn't leak in the future.
And the problem is, if we try to get it to a marketable concentration, that's when you start to get the odors that people who live in that area find objectionable.
At some point, we hope to market this in the form of generating electricity or selling as a fuel. These are just this project and a couple of the other ones that we've done are just to make sure that we control where that gas is going. This is about 3,000 feet of pipe. It also includes valves and pumps and other appurtenances to make sure that that gas gets from, it's probably about a 25-acre area to the flare under control.
And to take advantage of the marketability in the future, there would be gas concentrators at some point, or we'd be managing the concentration naturally, avoiding leakage from the landfill.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Ron, anything you want to answer?
No, I think you folks covered it adequately.
Very good. Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes, thank you.
Resolution awarding a bid contract in the amount of $787,737 to Northeast Ohio Trenching for Glyco 2 Force Main Replacement Contract A, Project 364S.
Move to adopt.
Second, and discussion. Randy, do you want to give a little detail on that one?
Sure. This is a force main under the sanitary sewer force main under the Grand River from Fairport Harbor to the village of Grand River. It handles all the sewage essentially east of the Grand River over to about the landfill area. It was originally put in 1965, and it's beyond its useful life, and so we've been planning on replacing this for a while, and this is the project that will do that.
Do you want to give a little explanation of the difference between a force main and gravity?
Sure. Force main, generally we like to transport the water flows downhill, so we generally it's transported by gravity and pipes. Eventually it gets to a low point and we have to pump that. And this force main is sort of like your sump pump at home. If you have a sump pump in your basement, that force main is what discharges that water from the basement out. This is a little bit bigger. This is about a 16-inch force main, and it pumps about up to 3 million gallons every day.
And again, this is getting way too much detail, but on the, I'm going to say the load side, assuming the pumps are down, there's a storage capacity there that if a pump fails, there's not a potential for sanitary sewer overflow. It's all designed and engineered into this, and there's little to no risk to the waterways or the land in the area.
Absolutely, yeah. We have there's 4 pumps at this pump station, and the redundancy there is at least doubled on all our lift stations. So if one pump were to go down, even 2 pumps were to go down, we'd still be able to handle the flow.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Ron, anything you want to answer?
No.
Thank you,
Good.
sir. Thank you, sir.
I think that's standard operating procedure.
There you go. We'll make it happen. Okay, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In Job and Family Services Department, resolution authorizing execution of a service contract between United Labor Agency Incorporated and the Lake County Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Lake County Department of Job and Family Services to provide RESCA services at Ohio Means Jobs, Lake County, in the amount of $162,177 for calendar year 2021.
Move to adopt.
Second, and under discussion, we have Patrick, and I'm going to butcher your last name, Mahersik?
Yep.
Whew, okay. I'm always nervous when I say that, so thank you for being so understanding.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to quickly explain what RESCA is. This is funds from the state of Ohio for the Reemployment Services and Eligibility Assessment Program. This program is designed to provide reemployment services to customers in a declining industry via online or in-person activities. These will mandate people receiving UI benefits in these industries to come in and work with Ohio Means Jobs in a one-on-one reemployment appointment with an employment professional to provide a customized reemployment plan that includes work search activities, access to services provided through Ohio Means Jobs, and a self-service tool. So that is the program on the docket today.
And this would be an enhancement, any potential employee, any potential worker who is willing and able to work, this will give them an enhanced ability to do just that?
Correct.
Gotcha. Excellent, thank you. Commissioner Young, anything, sir?
No, nothing at all.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you, Patrick. Okay, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Commissioner's Office, resolution authorizing the County Administrator to contract on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners within certain limits.
I'll move to adopt. Commissioner Young, you still with
Hello?
us? Oh, yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, Commissioner Young, you with us?
I cut off there for a minute. I'm not sure what happened.
Would you like
But,
the clerk to repeat that, sir?
what's on the agenda right now?
We're on item 7. Madam Clerk, would you please repeat that?
Resolution authorizing the County Administrator to contract on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners within certain limits.
Yeah, I move to adopt.
And I'll second that. Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes, thank you.
Resolution revising the Lake County Board of Commissioners regular meeting schedule.
Move to adopt.
Second. Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Finance Department, resolution approving payment of bills as listed on the Commissioner's Approval Journal in the amount of $1,252,352.17.
Move to adopt.
Second. Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving purchase orders as listed on the Commissioner's Purchase Order Approval Journal in the amount of $1,364,209.13.
Move to adopt.
Second. Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution establishing a fund to be known as Emergency Rental Assistance Fund.
Move to adopt.
Second. And discussion. Do we want to give any, Michael Matus, Budget Finance Director? I know we've talked about this in the past, but.
Yep. Thank you, Commissioner. I'll just touch on the next 3 resolutions because they're all on me, if you don't mind.
Wow, I was trying to get your steps in today.
In regards to that, the Emergency Rental Assistance Fund, we are a direct entitlement, so we actually have received $6.8 million that will be deposited in that new fund created today. Why we created the fund was to keep track of all the revenues and expenditures all in one spot. based on the revised code, that's the best practice of doing that. Marion Norman is spearheading this program. There still remains to be seen what the eligibility criteria is, and she's ironing that out. I know Commissioner Hammercheck, you've been a key component in regards to this. So we thought it would be in the best interest of the county to create the new fund concerning this.
And I'll just throw a little commercial out there for the staff. Sadly, this is another one of those, if you don't ask, you don't get. And amazingly, there are actually counties and other communities that did not ask. Lake County was right there, Johnny on the spot, and $6.8 million. That's pretty impressive. So we did good. So high fives all the way around on that one. But thank you, Michael. If you don't mind.
Well, let me just intercede here for a minute.
Please,
as well.
sir.
Mr. Where's the $6.8 million coming from again,
The feds.
Mike?
It's actually part of CARES Act funding in regards to that COVID relief from the feds.
I see. That's right. Okay. Yeah, this was clear. I mean, this is something I understand. Okay. And I support. Go right ahead.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, if there's no further discussion, Mike, if you'd wait for the next couple. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes, thank you.
Resolution approving the 2021 permanent appropriation measure for the general fund.
Move to adopt.
Second, and under discussion, Mike, did you want to hit the talking points? You want me to go over some of this stuff?
You can, and I can touch upon them after completion. So go
Very
ahead, sir.
good. Thank you. Regarding the permanent 2021 general fund, we have chief operating fund for the county and accounts for the fiscal resources except those to be accounted for in another fund per the Ohio Revised Code restrictions. For the entire year of 2021, projected revenues are $56,849,107. In 2020, projected revenues were $58,824,166. Projected revenues decreased by $1,975,059, or 3.4%. 2021 projected appropriations, $56,280.
Million.
Strike that. Yeah, nice catch. 56. Boy, that would be terrible.
It would be good for our fund balance, but I don't think the
yeah.
departments would be too happy with that.
I think there's a couple of department heads here that wouldn't let me out of this room if we stuck to that. Thank you. Let me just start that over again. $56,285,080. 2020 projected appropriations were $58,813,292. Projected appropriations decreased by $2,528,212, or 4.3%. Causes for the decrease in revenue: decreases were realized in investment earnings based on current market conditions, uncertainty pertaining to various sources of revenue, real estate collections, casino fees, conveyance fees, etc. Additional points to be discussed here: we have healthcare costs continue to rise even though we are doing better than other entities. Law enforcement represents our major expense category, with medical care within the jail continue to rise significantly each year. Judicial and public safety represents over 66.4% of the proposed budget. In 2020, the board asked that all departments reduce their permanent budgets by 5% effective July 1, 2020. Most departments were very cooperative and understood that this was needed to account for the expected revenue decreases. The goal of the county's elected officials and department heads remain dedicated to the residents of Lake County to provide the best services possible with their current staff levels based on estimated resources. And Mike, if you want to fill anything that I might have missed there, that was kind of the outline.
Just wanted to say 2020 was one of the most difficult years I've had in my position, just based on the uncertainty of the revenue and the COVID effect on our budget. We did come out a little bit better than we expected, so that was a good sign. I want to thank the rest of the finance department, Sarah Ryan, Terry Lang, and Jackie Irwin for their support with the preparation of the budget and review of the general and outside the general fund.
No, I must say high praise to you and your staff.
I do have another question at this point.
Oh, yes, Commissioner Young, please proceed.
Is there anything in our current budgets, and I could have waited till the end for this, to ask this question, but I'll ask it now, and we'll, I'd like it to encompass, the 2021 budget, the new budget in its totality. And that's simply, is there anything in there that increases the inside millage?
No, there is not.
Okay.
That has to be done in reflection prior to in the tax budget in the previous year. So when you guys voted and approved that in July, there was no increase in the inside millage whatsoever. Ours remains 1.0 mil, and we're authorized up to 2.1. But no, there is no increase.
So our inside millage, where does it rate at the state as far as if we're going to put inside millage on a scale from the lowest to the highest?
We are one of the lowest. It changes every year. I haven't saw the new updated ones for tax year 20, collection year 21, but we are definitely in the lower 25% in regards to that.
All right, and our rate has not increased at all over the last few years.
No, that like I said, that has to be done through means of the tax budget, and you guys have remained constant. The prior commissioners, at the time when they did the increase in sales tax, they reduced the inside millage from 2.1 to 1.0. That was the first time that was done in the state of Ohio.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Mike.
And for the benefit
And
of those...
thanks for your indulgence, Mr. President.
Oh, no, quite all right, quite all right. And then for the benefit of those who are viewing and maybe reading the meeting minutes, in order to increase the inside millage, that would have to be part of a resolution by this board. It would have to be approved by a majority of this board. It's not something that could be, for lack of a better descriptor, slid through. That would have to be very open and transparent. Also regarding where Lake County rates as far as collection of inside millage, Lake County is unique in that the overwhelming majority of counties, and I'm basing this off of discussions at the County Commissioners Association of Ohio, Lake County is one of the unique counties that is not collecting the full inside millage. As we know, Lake County is voluntarily not collecting 1.1 mil of the 2.1 that is authorized under the revised code. So, and that's part of the 10 mil limit for inside mill.
Yep.
So we are unique in that we have the financial discipline and the capacity to continue to be providing services to the people and doing it within the revenues that we are collecting routinely. Mike, did you want to expand on that anymore?
No, I think you did a good job with that. Like I said,
I would like to say in reference to that, though, that I think it's quite honorable and productive, if you will, that Lake County is not taking any more money from the people than it absolutely needs. The money is there, it's true, and we could take it without a vote of the people. But at the same time, I think we're functional as a government without it. And I think that it's quite honorable that Commissioner Hamercheck and Mike and all you folks have worked under that kind of a philosophy. Not that you necessarily embrace every element of it, and there's no litmus test for that, and I'm glad there isn't. But I think that it's a good policy and one that I'd like to see continued. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Michael, you satisfied we've covered all the high points? And
yes, sir.
Commissioner Young, you satisfied we covered all the necessary points on this resolution?
I believe so.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yeah.
Commissioner Hamercheck,
Yes. Thank you. And next resolution, please.
resolution approving the 2021 permanent appropriation measure for funds outside the general fund.
Move to adopt.
And I'll second that. And under discussion, I'll go in and give some points here as we discussed the preceding resolution. There are two types of funds in the outside general fund, and that would be the governmental and proprietary. Also, you're going to hear with proprietary, it's also going to be enterprise funds for those of you who may be more in tune with your local municipalities. Governmental funds, these are special revenue, debt service, and permanent improvement funds. These funds account for all grants and other resources whose use is restricted, committed to, or assigned to a particular purpose. Proprietary funds. Then here's some subcategories. We've got enterprise and internal services. Enterprise funds are used to account for the activity for which fees are charged to external users for goods or services. Examples would be water, drinking water, wastewater, and solid waste. Internal service funds account for the financing of services provided by one department to another department on a cost reimbursement basis. Examples would be central purchasing, the mailroom, and healthcare accounts. Okay, 2021 projected revenues for these funds are approximately $248.2 million, and the appropriation resolution is approximately $274.9 million. In comparison to 2020 numbers, the projected revenues are $255.7 million, and the appropriation resolution was $288.9 million. Now, some of you hearing those numbers might say, wait a minute, you're deficit spending. I think, Mike, you can very neatly tie that up about how monies are moved forward to be paying for things and spend down. So if you want to go into that for some details, sir.
Legally in Ohio, we're not allowed to deficit spend. It can fund balance can never go below zero. In regards to this, why appropriations exceed estimated revenues is our permanent improvement funds, as well as a majority of the utility project funds as well. Funds were transferred into in the end of 2020. There's no estimated revenue going in for 2021, but there's projects that have been basically encumbered. There's a lot of water and sewer projects, as also our administration center. We will be paying that down, so that expenditures will be higher, of course, than our estimated revenues, because that fund will be, our portion of the fund will be closing shortly. That also goes for, we entered into the contracts with the HVAC and so forth in the prior meeting, and that is part of our permanent improvement plan of the past. So in regards to that, it's a common occurrence for that, for the outside general funds to be like that. A lot of stuff is eliminated at the end when they do the financial statements. So,
and as an example, was it DD, I think was in 2020, they had moved a significant amount of money from one category to another,
Yep.
which had the appearance of, was it like $10 million, something like that, if I recall?
Yep, we were required to change that in a change in the Ohio Revised Code concerning their permanent improvement funds. Yes.
And we have to, and you said this right up front, and it's worth repeating, under the revised code, we are not allowed, we are by law required to have a balanced budget.
Correct.
So if the numbers look like there is deficit spending, it is not deficit spending, it is transparent accounting.
Yep.
That has to do with special responses. For example, last year, again, revised code changed, we had to move $10 million from one account to another, which looked like
Yep.
it was an expense that it was really just compliance with the revised code.
Yep.
And again, debt service and special projects as we basically pay our bills.
Yep.
So again, just to be abundantly clear, under law, because I hate it during campaign season. It's, oh, during my entire campaign, I've had 5 consecutive balanced budgets. By law, you can't not have a balanced budget.
Correct.
So, little commercial for those who might want to run for office. If anybody reads the revised code, yeah, they're going to call you on that one. Michael, any more detail you want to go into, or is that?
Just wanted to thank the department heads and all the elected officials for all their input and help in preparation of the general and outside general fund, and especially the commissioners for their input that they provided.
And Commissioner Young, I think it's fair that from the Board of Commissioners' perspective, yet again, it's been a pleasure working with the department heads and separately elected officials. It's a real team effort, and under these difficult times, it is refreshing, and I must say that in Lake County, we are blessed. Other counties do not have it so lucky. There's a lot of fussing and feuding between departments. Commissioner Young, did you want to add to the discussion, sir?
Yeah, I'd like to just ask Mike one more question. And it's simply, back in March and April, when we were looking at our financial situation, we were discussing as much as, I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, a 20% discount in revenues. Is that accurate? Am I close to the figure we were discussing?
When we originally did that, yes, it was very similar to the 20% reduction you're referring to.
And what did we end up with in revenue?
Our revenues in comparison to prior year were very, almost exactly the same as what they were. Sales tax actually was a little bit higher than what it was previously, but of course, we lost significantly in the investment earnings, and that will continue on for the foreseeable future. The nice thing about...
We ended up, rather than a 20% loss, we ended up with essentially a break-even, maybe even a slight increase.
It was a slight decrease overall, but that was, we did curtail our expenses throughout the year, so we did do, we went proactive instead of reactive in regards to that as well.
Okay. And as far as controlling costs is concerned, I know you came up with a lot of different innovations and ideas. Other members of the board did as well. And as Commissioner Hamercheck was just inferring, I would say that Lake County worked extremely well together to achieve a balanced budget, and even in some ways beyond the balanced budget. So the point of my question, I guess, is just to congratulate you and the whole team over achieving something that obviously the federal government, state government, many counties throughout the state of Ohio didn't even come close to achieving. And so I think from every perspective, looking at what we managed to make happen here in Ohio, here in Lake County, is extremely impressive. So, and I'm not saying this just to make you feel, to make you have a better day. I think you're going to have a good day regardless. But just to get some truth out there.
I always have a good day.
I know, you do. You've always got that big smile on your face, and you're always an encouragement. But, job well done. Job well done, my friend. So keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and thank all the folks that supported you in those efforts.
Excellent, excellent. Michael, anything else you care to add?
Just in closing, of course, 2021 remains uncertain on certain things, as we talked about. So will we make revenue and appropriation adjustments throughout the year? Of course, we will. This is our best guess at the current time. And as no one expected when we passed a permanent budget last year that we would be asking departments to voluntarily reduce their expenditures by 5%. Hopefully that will not transpire in 2021. But again, I'd like to thank all the elected officials, department heads, as well as the rest of the finance department. So thank you, sir.
Well said, well said, sir. Thank you. Okay, no further discussion. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yeah.
Commissioner Hamercheck.
Yes, thank you. Okay, this brings us to our departmental reports portion of our meeting. Utilities, Randy?
No report today.
Thank you, sir. And we have our County Administrator, Jason Boyd.
Good morning, Commissioners. It's going to be hard to follow Mr. Matus this morning. Very impressive. In all seriousness, congratulations to Mike and his team. Mike and I and Joel at points in March and April had a lot of evening phone calls and talking to the Commissioners about just what in the world are we going to do to keep the county running fiscally, keeping our water plants running, our sewer plants running, our jails open. And serious note, Mike did a heck of a job with the budget in 2020 and in 21. So I don't give Mike that many attaboys, but well deserved. Moving on to our loan and grant program, I wanted the board to know our committee met again last week, and with some of the additional CDBG CARES Act funds, we're continuing that program. We approved 7 or 8 grants last week to some small businesses, so we'll continue that. That puts us probably close to 100 grants and loans that we've distributed over the past 7 or 8 months via the Planning and Community Development Department. So that's good news, and we'll continue to do that. Planning and Community Development Assistant Director Rhea Benton will have CDBG additional funds coming your way in the next couple of weeks for evaluation, consideration, and ultimate approval. So the commissioners will be on the lookout for that. I think it's about 2 weeks out. And finally, our the vaccine program with our partners at the General Health District leading the show, the Lake Health, and the EMA continues to proceed quite well. I know they are working on a pod for this coming week. Registrations continue at the Lake County General Health District website, where individuals can put their name in the system, and then when vaccines are available and or they are eligible per the governor's age brackets, they will be notified via our reverse 911 system. Once again, I can't stress enough, we have thousands of citizens and hundreds of doses, and we're doing the absolute best we can. Encourage folks to the best of their ability to stay patient, and we'll get to them absolutely as quick as we can. So that concludes my report.
And just to echo and amplify, just because someone is registered, a registration does not equal a vaccination. There is a shortage, and just because the governor and the federal government continue to expand those eligible to receive a vaccination does not mean that there are vaccines available for them. Yeah. We still have 1A personnel that have not yet been vaccinated. And as we expand, there is an expectation, but I think we need to also manage that expectation and emphasize to the people, as vaccines become available, they are being distributed, but just because you're registered does not guarantee. Yeah. It's not like the flu shot. I hate to say it. The availability just is not there. Did you want to emphasize that?
No, well said. The last count, we had, I believe, about 40,000 individuals registered within the health district's system that just puts you on the list. Your point is absolutely correct. Once you register at the health district, that's just the first step. Keep your eyes and ears open to your email and to your phone, landline, or cell phone, depending on what you signed up. And when the phone rings, act as expeditiously as you can to get one of those limited appointments. And we'll continue that process for the foreseeable future. The health district, Lake Health, EMA issued a press release earlier this week. We're 100%. When we get them, they're going in folks' arms. We're doing it the right way. I know a lot of folks are working with Columbus to see if we can't get additional doses for those folks or communities who may not be performing as well. We have the ability to stand up pods in relatively quick order thanks to our relationships with our local fire departments, the Fire Chiefs Association, Chief Powers, Chief Searles, and so on. They've done a heck of a job, but I think, Commissioner Young, if you said we're scalable. We can go from the hundreds up into the thousands in a matter of a day, but it takes a lot of coordination and planning. And the tough part about coordination and planning is when you get only a notice of a couple days, you've got to be able to react. And those are some of the timelines by which the health district and Lake Health are working under when we get the heads up on, hey, next week you're going to get 400 doses or 500 doses. So we respond accordingly. And I say they are doing the work. I am a participant, and it's an absolute pleasure to work and learn from these folks. So thank you.
And something else that needs to be mentioned, the data delays, the data lag. As our health district pushes data to Columbus for the Ohio Department of Health, there's a 3 to 14 day delay in that data being processed. Our health district is actually getting scolded at times of, why are you not vaccinating? They've already been vaccinated. The data delay doesn't show. There are some officials in Columbus that are scolding our people, even though the vaccinations have already been administered. The delay is on their side, not in a timeliness issue on our side. I can tell you that we're working on a technology software that's actually uploading directly to Ohio Department of Health. It's fully compatible with their requirements and their formatting, That should be coming online shortly. I'll let the Health District give more detail on that. But folks need to understand, if you hear something that you're not comfortable with or do not understand, please do not hesitate to ask. Just be assured there is a maximum effort taking place, and Lake County continues to be one of the better counties in the state of Ohio as far as this rollout. Jason, did you want to address any of that?
No, well said.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Young, anything for Administrator Boyd?
Well, I'm not sure if that you treat this now or under old or new business, but now's as good a time as any, I guess. And talking about health, and from a personal perspective, I'm not sure that most of my friends in this room are aware of what's happened in my life in 2020 and here early in 2021. And I'll be very brief. Just to give you a quick chronology, I think most of you know my wife died, wife of 45 years, Kathy, in March of 2020. Then in June, I was diagnosed with leukemia, one of the most aggressive forms of leukemia. Remember, my doctor called me and said, "Ron, you've got 2 to 3 weeks to live," unless you report to the cancer center almost immediately, which and didn't take a lot of debate on my part. I simply did what he told me. They were lining me up for a bone marrow transplant when I developed an infection that stopped that. It takes away someone's immune system when they're being attacked by a virus. So that was delayed until late October, when the Cleveland Clinic wanted to do a bone marrow transplant. So they called me down to the clinic, and I was there until mid-November, when they came into my room one day and said, "Ron, your doctor has contracted COVID. We'd like to check you for it as well." And of course I agreed to that, and turned out positive while I was at the clinic. I went to TriPoint, was at TriPoint then for another week and a half, 2 weeks with COVID. Recovered from COVID then in mid-December, and took 30 days to recover. And now I'm back at the clinic again. And I just finally underwent the bone marrow transplant. So now there's a fairly long recovery period. So I felt that the people that elected me should be made aware of what I've been going through, so that it could be part of their evaluation process with any upcoming elections or whatever we're about to go through. Also, I think that, and I hate to blow my own horn here, but I think it may be necessary, that I haven't missed a single commissioners meeting. In fact, I've been present at many other virtual meetings, or at least with the option of virtual. So I think that I've done a fairly good job of at least being present and being active. But of course, that's in the people's hands to decide. This is simply information that I wanted to convey to you guys as sort of friends, if you will. We're going to be doing the press release either this afternoon or tomorrow morning, covering a lot of these same details. So appreciate your indulgence, Mr. President.
Indeed, sir.
Move on here.
Yes, sir, as you so instruct. Whew, okay, Finance, so you've given extensive information. I believe you're good to go. I'm getting the high sign from Mr. Matus that he is good to go with that. Madam Clerk.
Yes, I just wanted to mention that the resolution revising the commissioner's regular meeting schedule, that pertains to the meeting next week, which is Thursday, February 11th. The time of that meeting was 10 o'clock a.m., and that is now being changed to 2 o'clock p.m., and I just wanted to note that. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. Legal.
No reports, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir. Okay, moving on to old business. Do we have any old business to come before this board? Okay, moving on to new business. Do we have any new business to come before the board? I'm going to slide something in here. I'm going to give a hearty thank you, especially to Jason Boyd, Jennifer Bell, and Kathy Russo. I had a great conversation with Frank Gallucci as our chief legal counsel regarding the opioid litigation. He gives high praise to all three of you and the overall staff. I thought this was the best environment to say that, so that people of Lake County know there's a lot of stuff that's going on that affects our nation, and the three of you have been going above and beyond in facilitating activities and discussions and testimonies, providing the space and the resources to have things move along effectively and efficiently. And I cannot overemphasize, I really enjoy hearing praise about the crew and hearing how well you people are serving Lake County, and in this instant, serving our nation. I don't want this to be dismissed. The COVID-19, I realize that the same drug manufacturers that were vilified and, looking at back-breaking company-ending lawsuits are now the same companies producing these vaccines, and the same distributors that are involved in the distribution lawsuit are the ones that are out there getting vaccines shipped to them directly. So I don't want to lose sight of the fact, though, that the opioid crisis still exists. People are still losing their lives because of this, and this lawsuit, of which Lake County is a bellwether county, one of only 2 counties in the nation, that you three have been specifically commended, but I also know that you have many people supporting you. But when the chief legal counsel is by name mentioning you folks, I think it's worthy to bring this up and say thank you. Ron, did you want to add anything to that, sir?
No. As always, I think you did a good job.
Oh, bless you, sir. Thank you. Okay, moving on to public comments. Jason, have we received any electronic comments from anyone? County Administrator Boyd is indicating no electronic submissions have occurred. Okay, so that takes us to our second public comment portion. As our Commissioner Clerk did point out, our next regular meeting will be at 2 p.m. on Thursday, February 11th, 2021. We do have a request for an executive session. The topic will be personnel compensation. There'll be no work or official actions to be taken after the meeting. So with that stated, is there a motion to adjourn into executive session for reasons stated?
So moved.
Second, discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. Thank you for joining us today. This meeting stands adjourned to executive session.